The owl-obsessed Byakuya gang is about to perform their biggest heist in Konoha Village. But before we can get to that, we are treated to the backstory of the ice-wielding Ryogi. And just like every other character in the Naruto franchise, it's incredibly tragic. Greetings, my friends. It's time to review another episode of Boruto Naruto Next Generations. This episode is a continuation of the Byakuya gang arc. Yes, the owl-themed thieves themselves. And we actually get to learn a little bit more about their history in this episode, which also means we get to learn about the backstory of Ryogi. And it's very cliche and by the numbers, and honestly, I was almost ready to hate this episode for how dangerously close it got to Haku's backstory, but they still managed to make it a little different. His overall story is that he lived with his mother and his father in the boonies, and his father and the weird mohawked man by the name of Gecko went off to perform a mission. When he returned, his father was dead, being attacked by an assailant who also killed his mother right in front of him, with him passing out, waking up, and being confronted by Gecko, who brings him into his gang of thieves, the Byakuya gang. Now, Gecko very clearly is manipulating Ryogi at this point, and basically telling him that this is something that his father was completely okay with. In fact, he was saying that his father was a part of this organization, something that I do not believe. Basically, the big theme of this episode is what does it mean to be a pawn? And that's exactly what we see from Ryogi in this episode, as he has been completely brainwashed by Gecko and his Robin Hood mentality, which ultimately is going to mean nothing when he reveals what his true plan is going to be, which he calls the Knight of the Crest strategy, which I have to admit sounds really cool, and it totally goes with their whole owl theme, as cheesy as it actually is. But I'm interested to see what his entire plan is ultimately going to be leading up to, as his entire past is still something of a mystery. We still don't know too much about his allegiance with Ryogi and his father. Maybe they were brothers. He calls him an uncle, but then again, some people just have someone in their family they consider an uncle who's not related by blood. He's just an older male figure who's kind of like just good friends with his father. But really, what is his plan, and why has it taken this long to actually develop into something? The actual backstory itself is very cliche. That's really the only way to put it. There's really nothing all that special there, and it really pains me to see an episode like this in the same week as one of the most disappointing backstories that I've seen from Dragon Ball Super. More on that, check out the video list on my channel. But still, it serves its purpose just fine, and it's also a great way to show us how Ryogi manifested his ice-style abilities. In the heat of the moment when this guy was attacking, you get to see that he completely encased his sword in ice. It was like the first moment that he was able to utilize those abilities, and I can't wait to see more of them because they can make some scenes really exciting, visually speaking. And that leads me to the part of the episode that I felt was the most interesting, which was a tense confrontation between Ryogi and Shikadai, where they end up having a really awesome shogi match, which goes on into the night. But Ryogi unfortunately ends up outing himself, unbeknownst to him, because he brings this lantern with them, and he uses that to light it up as the sun is going down so they can continue to play the game. But Shikadai starts to put the pieces of the puzzle together, and he realizes that this lantern was actually something that the Byakuya gang stole. It was on a list of stolen goods. He puts a couple of things together and realizes that Ryogi is a member of this group, which Ryogi does not take very well, as he's incredibly conflicted. Is he just a pawn? Are those from Konoha Village just pawns? Is Gecko someone that he can truly trust? He decides to go along with his plan, and this leads to what I think is the most visually striking scene of the episode, where he puts on his mask and he utilizes his ice abilities in such a cool way by throwing that one shogi piece right behind Shikadai before it explodes and blossoms into a giant glacial crystal of awesomeness. I love it because all of the bits of ice sort of explode and start to melt and evaporate in the air, and that combined with the sunset and the beautiful ice crystals just make this such a really great looking scene, especially because it serves as such a great metaphor for the fact that there's a massive divide between Ryogi and Shikadai at this moment. They are separated by a massive piece of ice, and this is basically where Ryogi throws it down. He leaves, he meets up with his crew as they begin their next big strategy to take Konoha by the cojones. So, what's the rundown on this week's episode of Boruto Naruto Next Generations? Quite an interesting episode. I especially love the angle of the fact that a lot of the citizens of Konoha Village think that the Byakuya gang are doing a good thing, and they are protesting the crap out of the village. There are people rioting in the streets, all because of what the Byakuya gang has done. They have installed this like weird mental state into society to take advantage of them so that everybody will pay attention to them, so that they can just casually sneak in and take everything from under their feet. It's actually kind of interesting. I especially love the way that Gecko put it, that this is their ninja way, their rogue ninja who do things in their very own way. It's his jutsu, as he calls it. It's not like an actual jutsu or anything, but his manipulation of people to get what he wants is surprisingly cool. I can't wait to learn a little bit more about it and to see his ultimate downfall, whatever that's going to be. And it looks like we might not even have to wait that long. In the next episode, it looks like they're going to start to carry out their plan, but there are going to be some complications, such as Boruto and all of his friends getting involved, because of course that's exactly what they're going to do. It even looks like Boruto is going to be going up against the leader Gecko, and of course Shikadai will be going up against Ryogi. I mean, how is that not going to happen? But I did absolutely love the dynamic between these two characters, as both of them are very ignorant of many different things. They come from so very different backgrounds, with Shikadai coming from a very sort of sheltered village. He's never really had to work too hard or even like think about anything too crazy. I mean, they live in this peaceful world, whereas Ryogi grew up in a world without his parents. He saw them killed before him. It's the tried and true you don't know my pain kind of story. And ultimately, it's what ends up separating these two characters. And I've seen it a million times before, but honestly, I just really like the way that it's being handled in this episode right here and in this story. And it kind of makes me not want to see any of Boruto and the other main characters that we see a lot of. I want to spend more time with Shikadai and their group, and it looks like we'll get to see him and his entire team working together in the next episode, which is something that I'm very interested to see, as they're doing a really great job of separating Shikadai from his father. While there are certainly similarities, especially in the way that he looks and even some of his personality, he's a very different character, but still just as calculating and very smart, and knows how to read between the lines and look for all the hidden things, and that's how he was able to out Ryogi in this episode, and it led to a really tense and great scene, which could have gotten really violent, but thankfully it didn't, as both of them still see each other as very good friends, and even Shikadai wasn't going to rat him out or anything, but Ryogi is sticking to his plans. He sees Konoha Village as just another one of these corrupted organizations which must be stopped with their very own swift form of justice. That combined with the pretty good art style from this episode, which I really did like. I really loved the shot of Gecko and all the other owl members of the Byakuya gang behind him. I thought that was a really cool image, but the moment at the end with him and Shikadai and the ice and everything, that was a really cool image. I really did love that a lot. I'm trying to find some diamonds in the rough because, frankly, I still think that this is the weakest arc that we've seen from the Boruto series, as it's not really doing anything too new, but it still manages to be slightly entertaining, but it is moving a little slow, I have to admit. The last 3 episodes felt like I've been watching the same exact thing. But still, I like the angle of all of the people in the village who are getting super pissed off, even at frickin' Denki's father's company, the Kaminarimon company. They are not too happy about any of this stuff, and I can't wait to see how their eyes are going to be open to what this group is truly going to do. And still, it is kind of hard to take them seriously, I have to admit, because knowing that Naruto's in the village, I mean, are these guys really going to be able to stop Naruto? No, they're not even going to be able to stop his friends. All of the original Konoha 11 that are still around, except for Neji. Sorry to open old wounds. The point is, I mean, there's no way these characters are going to lose to them, but who knows? We might see some members we haven't seen before with some signature abilities. Hopefully it'll lead to some pretty cool fight scenes and a lesson that's not incredibly too cheesy and PSA like a frickin' G.I. Joe episode. We all know it is going to end that way, though. What I will say is this has been an okay arc so far, but really I'm kind of ready for it to wrap up. But still, it's highly inoffensive and very watchable, and way better than a lot of the filler from the original Naruto Shippuden anime series, which is why I'm going to give this episode a 3 out of 5. Just another fun, average episode of Boruto, which is totally worth watching at least once. It's not the worst thing in the world, and it's not the best. It's just somewhere in between. It's a great way to kill 25 minutes. So check it out, guys. I'd love to hear your thoughts about the episode, and you can tell me all of them in the comment section below. Are you enjoying this arc? What do you think of the character of Ryogi? What do you hope to see from the end of the Byakuya gang arc and the Boruto anime series and beyond. Thank you guys for watching this review. I'll see you guys next time. And as always, stay down there, baby.